I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI Pittsburgh field office. The first thing I want to say is that the FBI stands with the people of Butler County in Western Pennsylvania, and our hearts go out to the victims of this heinous act which occurred today. This is our community, and I want to let the public know that the FBI has deployed a number of our resources, including investigative agents, our evidence response team, bomb technicians, and we have additional resources coming from other field offices, as well as from FBI headquarters, including our evidence response from Quantico, Virginia. We have intelligence analysts as well, working from our field office in Pittsburgh, working feverishly to attempt to identify the individual who did this and any motives behind what was done. Right now, we need the public's help. Anyone who was on scene, who saw anything, who identified any information, please report that to the FBI using either the phone number 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at fbi.gov/Butler.
They must have jacked him up bad.
What we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well. Again, at this time, we are not prepared to identify who the shooter is. We are close to that identification, and as soon as we are 100% confident in who that individual is, we will share it with the press. With that being said, also, we do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was. At this time, I'm going to turn over the podium to Colonel Chris Parris from the Pennsylvania State Police.
Thank you very much. My name is Colonel Chris Parris, P-A-R-I-S, Commissioner of Pennsylvania State Police. I would just like to say that the State Police have been in regular contact with the Governor's office, and the full support and assets of the entire agency are behind the FBI and our other federal and municipal partners to assist with this investigation. The thoughts and prayers of the Pennsylvania State Police are likewise with the victims of this terrible act. We are prepared to support this investigation in any way, shape, or form, and we stand ready to participate in a full, fair, and competent and thorough investigation. To give you an operational rundown, Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, is behind me, and he will discuss the operational portion that's being conducted by the Pennsylvania State Police. Lieutenant Colonel Bivens.
Good evening. So let me describe for you a little bit about the scene that we have over there. As you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when this all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening, and within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction. It was a chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically, quickly identifying and neutralizing the threat, as well as responding to assist the various victims. PSP had a significant presence on the scene along with all of our federal partners at the time of the shooting. We have since enhanced that presence significantly, bringing in resources from all over the Commonwealth to ensure that we have a speedy, thorough investigation. We are working very closely with the FBI as we work through this. As you can imagine, because of the variety of crimes that have been committed, some are under federal jurisdiction, some are under state jurisdiction. And so, we're working through all of that, not an issue at all. We work seamlessly but the FBI has maintained the lead on the attempted assassination. PSP will take the lead on the homicide and the shootings of the other individuals in the grandstand area. And so there are a lot of witnesses to be interviewed, a lot of things to be processed. There were some complicators that hopefully the next time we speak, we can describe for you, but some complicators that slowed down some of the processing and the positive identification of the shooter. But know that at this time, we have no reason to believe that there is any other existing threat out there. We're doing everything we can to make sure that this is thoroughly investigated, and that if there is any information developed that anyone else was involved, that between PSP and the FBI, that will very quickly be followed up on. So I think at this time, we would open it up to questions from all of you.
Was this a lone wolf attack?
Again, I think it's too early to say that. We have one shooter tentatively identified, but we're not stopping there. We're following up on a lot of information. It will be some time until we can conclusively say or answer that question, I think.
How long do you think that gun was hiding up there? I mean, you saw the snipers up there, as the crowd kind of mulling in and looking at it, you point to check everyone else. How long did that guy have out there?
Again, that'll all be part of the investigation, but that will all be part of the investigation. But I can tell you that preliminarily, it appears everything unfolded very quickly. So, again, we'll have more information on that, but it's just too early to start definitively saying this happened at this exact time.
The side of the security perimeter, right? That building is on outside.
That's correct. We'll have that information for you. It was some distance outside of the
Colonel, can you comment on reports that there were people who saw someone on the roof and tried to alert authorities?
We're following up on those. I will tell you that I am aware of those, and I am aware that law enforcement had responded to a number of reports of suspicious activity. The specific response to this will be all part of the after action, but yes, law enforcement was responding to check on several suspicious occurrences.
What were the other suspicious occurrences?
That'll all be part of the investigation.
I think I'd like to. They just died out on me. Okay.
Is there anything else? Did he have any affiliation with that company, do you know?
So again, we're not prepared at this time to provide the identity.
Yo, come on, ABC.
We are having a couple hits to the signal here with this press conference that's happening right
Come
now
on.
in Pennsylvania. Let's see if it comes back. If it doesn't, we'll continue here, or as we wait for it, I can give you some of the headlines.
Yeah,
from what
go ahead.
Officers were talking about. This is a multi-agency effort, very complex, between the FBI, which is leading the investigation, and the Pennsylvania State Police. And they said that because of the different layers, they said at this time there are a variety of different crimes, some under federal jurisdiction, some under state jurisdiction, but they will be working together. They also said at this time they're not prepared to identify the shooter. They're close to identification, but they want to make sure they're 100% confident in who that person is before they share it. This is key. They also said there is no reason to believe that there is any other existing threat out there. Now, they wouldn't say specifically if they thought this was the act of a lone wolf, pointing out that they're not sure of the motive in this case. But at this point, this is significant, especially for the area. No reason to believe that there's any other existing threat out there. Now, one part of the question and answer I thought was interesting. There were reports that police confirmed of someone on a rooftop. And so let's
Stop
go ahead
talking.
and listen into the presser.
So I think the credit goes to not only the Secret Service who was on site, but also the state and local partners who were there on site and were able to react immediately when the incident occurred.
Do you know how many officers fired their weapons?
I do not.
I understand that it's very early and there's still going to be a lot of questions, but I mean.
At this point, we're not going to make that assessment. There's an active investigation. A lot of things need to occur investigatively to make those determinations of what, if any, failures there were. So really, we can't comment on that at this time.
So you can say if Secret Service had checked those buildings, or we're keeping a close eye, or?
Really have to defer to Secret Service for those questions.
At the AGR property prior to the event? Like, were there police at that location at any point during the event?
Are you saying the location where the shooter was located?
Yes.
I don't have any information on that. You'd have to defer to Secret Service.
When do you think you will release, when will the name of the shooter be released? I mean, any inkling of when that might happen, tomorrow?
Yeah.
So that'll be as soon as we've confirmed 100%, we're willing to release that. So if we have, as far as the contact information for the press, we should be able to do that within the next few hours, I imagine.
There was a vehicle being checked not far from here. We've also heard of a possible related.
I have a theory.
Is there anything you can tell us tonight about other areas where law enforcement may be searching in relation to this?
Again, right now, we're tracking down all leads and doing all interviews and tracking anything that we can regarding suspicious locations, vehicles, locations, interviewing individuals. So it's all related to this event, but I can't confirm or deny anything that's going on beyond that.
Have you heard about the weapon that the shooter used?
This is terrible, guys.
Yeah, what kind of rifle was
Do you want to
that?
come on?
What did he use?
Okay, until we have the confirmation of who the shooter is.
I'll tell you guys my theory in a second. I'm just trying to hear this doggone press conference. You'd think that they'd have a better
signal here at the press conference. It is ongoing. Let's see if we can listen in.
Do you have reason to believe that there are bombs somewhere in Butler County? Can you just walk us through that?
It's primarily standard procedure of any suspicious packages. In this case, there was identification of suspicious packages around where the shooter was. And so we deployed, in an abundance of caution, bomb assets to make sure that those were cleared for investigators to move safely in the area. We're still working on, it's still an active crime scene. So I'm not going to say that the scene is 100% clear at this time.
Why are there any Secret Service agents here right now for the press conference?
So Secret Service wasn't available for the press conference at this time.
okay.
You're talking about packages, what the suspicious packages, like what you're the shooter?
Really anything. I don't have specifics on what they were looking at, but there's people in the crowd will leave bags as they're fleeing the scene like this. So any suspicious packages we have to treat as it may be an explosive device.
And then how quickly, this was, I guess, the Secret Service, which we're not here to talk about, I guess, but when you guys jumped into action, all on and were able to take down that shooter, how quickly did everybody jump in and who ended up taking him out?
So it was immediate, and we're still trying to figure that out. So we'll wait till we have more definitive information regarding that investigatively.
What about the person in the crowd? Do you have any information about how they were killed?
My understanding was it was from the shooter, but again, those will be details that are released later.
Do you search homes or apartments as a part of your method of identifying the individual?
So if that's where the leads take us, absolutely.
Was Donald Trump hit with a bullet, do you know for sure, or was it potentially something else that could have?
I don't have that specific information as far as the injuries to the former president.
I understand you're not releasing the suspect's identification right now, but as you know, is this person known to you guys? Is he somebody that you guys have been looking at through the threats he's possibly being online, et cetera, et cetera?
Again, the information that we currently have, we're looking at that obviously very intently. And as we know that information, we'll release that as well. So we'll need to plan another time for a follow-up press conference. We're looking at all investigative leads and all everything from, and that's why we asked the public, because I'm sure there'll be cell phone video, there'll be all kinds of information that we'll use to fully flesh out exactly what happened here.
I know you say what type of gun it is, but do you know how many shots were fired?
I don't.
And
I don't have that information as far as, that'll come out in the investigation as well.
Is there an identification tonight on the other victims?
As far as the civilians,
Civilians that were injured in
Yeah.
So we do have identification on those. We're not prepared to release it at this time. We have notified a number of family members, but they have not had an opportunity to notify extended family and things. I would confirm for you that we did have one individual killed. And I know I heard somebody say about 2 victims. There were 3 in total besides the former president. So 2 critically wounded, 1 killed.
At this point, do you know if they were sitting near each other and where in relation to the former president?
I don't have their exact seating by individual. Again, that'll all be part of the investigation, but their shots were scattered somewhat, and so they weren't just into one particular location.
You're saying just one fatality as of right now?
Yes,
The shooter and one fatality.
the shooter plus 1 fatality.
Okay,
So there was 1 victim of the shooter who was killed, and then the shooter was killed.
And then 2 incredible.
Yes, ma'am.
Witnesses they said say they saw a semi-automatic rifle used by the shooter. Can you share any more details of it? That's what
I've heard those reports as well, and again, we do have a good idea of what the weapon was, but again, that's all part of the ongoing investigation. And I'm not trying to be cagey about that. When the SAC talked about the need to be very methodical and to be cautious with that scene, we are doing just that. We don't want anybody else getting hurt. And candidly, there are some concerns that we'll be able to talk more about later on about just what those concerns are and continue to be.
Why don't you talk to the shooter's family yet?
That's all part of the investigation.
After the event, there were a lot of really angry people. Are you monitoring? Have there been any threats in response to this? Are you worried? Have there been any specific threats?
That's certainly a concern, and we're monitoring that whole situation. I mentioned that we're bringing a lot of assets to bear, and so like the FBI utilizing their analysts, we also have the Pennsylvania Criminal Intelligence Center. We will utilize the resources of our intelligence division and the Criminal Intelligence Center to be able to monitor for concerns about any threats, regardless of the side of the issue or the political spectrum. We want to make sure that we try and avoid any further violence.
So no, nothing specific so far?
No, sir.
Without identifying them by name, can you say anything about the other folks who were injured or killed? Were they adults, men, male, female, anything at all?
They were adults, and they're male.
All 3.
Yes.
How difficult it is for your department though, or all your departments to go talk to these family members, including the civilians who were gunned down while they went to a rally, try and, celebrate, I guess, the upcoming election? What are those conversations like, and how do you kind of get through that?
We have trained investigators, and we're partnered hand in hand with the FBI, again, because we've got some federal violations, some state violations. And so our investigators are going out and methodically. We have a large team of investigators that are going out, dividing up these interviews and trying to conduct them as quickly as possible. And then there'll be follow-ups. With the FBI asking for people to call in tips, I have no doubt that we will receive a lot of additional information that will also require follow-up. But again, we're working very well together, and it's only a short matter of time until we get through all of those interviews.
How close a call was it for President Trump?
There were no police hit with bullets.
From your experience, how close a call was it for?
I'm not going to speculate or comment on that.
Have any of you?
And as we're listening to this press conference in Pennsylvania, you're looking at a live picture right now. This is the plane of former President Donald Trump flying into Newark. We understand that the president is going to regroup with family, with advisors in New Jersey as they get ready for what is still set to go forward with the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee starting on Monday. So quite a day for the former president, what law enforcement, again, are describing as an attempted assassination on Donald Trump today. Trump himself saying that a bullet whizzed past his ear, his right ear, and actually clipped part of it. He was injured slightly, taken to a hospital for medical treatment, but has since been released, left the area, and the image of former President Trump's plane landing in New Jersey right now. Once again, this press conference is playing out in Pennsylvania. We're getting a few more details of what they're looking at. I believe they're still wrapping up right now. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Part of that process?
It's my understanding that was outside of the perimeter.
Did this shooter have any previous criminal history?
We're not going to comment on anything about the
Did
shooter.
any agency deny Trump's team extra security? Any of the agencies that are out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
If Trump had been the nominee already, would he have had additional security for this event?
There again, Secret Service has the lead, and I'm not going to comment or speculate on what may or may not be provided at any given point, depending on their status as a candidate. What I will tell you is that in my experience, Secret Service does an excellent job of maintaining security on protectees. They're very cautious. They don't hesitate to ask for resources, and candidly, we don't hesitate to supply those resources.
Colonel, you're asking for the public's help. Can you elaborate and be more specific about what you'd really like to see from the public? If it's videos, photos, personal accounts?
I think the videos and photos would be very helpful. And I think that once the shooter is identified, anyone that has specific information on that shooter, that would be very helpful as well to help us assess motive. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we are absolutely not taking for granted that this was a lone wolf attack. And so we would be looking for any additional information that might point us toward anybody else that may have had a hand in this.
Sir, at this point, what is the main focus of the investigation? What's the most important thing for you right now, in a few hours?
Well, there's not any one single focus. I mean, certainly the immediate focus was life safety, getting the former president out of there and to care, getting care to the other victims and trying to secure the scene as quickly as possible.
Interesting.
Then from a life safety priority to then an investigative priority. And so I guess if I had to point to where we are right now, the single greatest priority would be to identifying a motive and whether there was anyone else involved.
We're just beginning the political season. Are you guys concerned with all of these rallies that happen and how they're set up? Is this going to change maybe the venues?
Again, I would refer you to the Secret Service in terms of what they work out with the campaigns. We will continue to supply resources, as I'm sure the FBI will, and the local partners as well.
And again, you're listening to this press conference with law enforcement in Pennsylvania, the state police, and the FBI speaking. But the image to the right of your screen is President Biden stepping off of Air Force One, arriving at, I believe it's at Andrews Air Force Base. At Andrews, this was just moments ago. We know that President Biden ended his trip. He was in Rehoboth, Delaware for the weekend. He ended his trip early to come back to Washington as all of this started playing out. I was just listening to see if we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave this press conference right now and go to Mary Bruce, our chief White House correspondent. Mary, a couple things that I just wanted to point out before we come to you as we're getting all of this information here. Once again, law enforcement saying that they are calling this an attempted assassination of former President Trump. I remember earlier tonight when President Biden was asked that question, he wasn't ready to go and confirm that, but now we're officially hearing it from officials. And once again, before I come to you, forgive me, I just want to point out too that they mentioned that one victim was killed, 2 critically wounded, all are adult males, and that the shots were scattered somewhat, so they couldn't identify specifically where these victims were in the crowd, but they are also highlighting the fact they do not believe that there is any other existing threat out there. They couldn't confirm whether this is a lone wolf or what the motive was or if others were involved in some way, but at this point, they do not believe there's another threat out there. Mary Bruce, I would imagine the White House, President Biden's team will be on heightened alert, regardless of what law enforcement says tonight.
Of course, I think that is natural to assume here. And the president, of course, has also been briefed on all of this. And as you noted, he did say earlier today that he had an opinion when asked if this was an assassination attempt. But at the time, he noted that he didn't have enough of the facts. Well, now, of course, they clearly have been able to ascertain that, yes, this was, in fact, an assassination attempt. The president, as you noted, is now back in Washington. He'll be back here at the White House shortly. His motorcade now making its way from Andrews Air Force Base back here to the White House so the president can continue to monitor all of the developments as they continue to try and answer all of those remaining questions here. The president will, as we have been saying, get another briefing tomorrow morning. He'll be meeting with his Homeland Security team and law enforcement officials as they continue to try and unpack all of this. The public message from the president so far has been that this is a time for unity, saying that there's no place in America for this kind of violence. He has called this sick. He has said we cannot be like this. We cannot allow for this to happen. That is the message coming from the president. I suspect that will continue to be the message in the coming days. The message coming from Joe Biden, the candidate, has been that they are pausing all of their public communications, as we've been saying. They're pulling down all of their ads, trying to make the point that this is not a time for politics. Of course, we have seen a bit of a different message coming out of the Trump campaign. They have been leaning into this moment. We noted that they put out that fundraising appeal off of this, saying, the Trump team saying, I will never surrender. They're not after me. They're after you. I'm just standing in the way. All of this, of course, coming as we head into that critical next week at the RNC.
Yeah, we're seeing the politics, we're seeing the campaign, we're also seeing law enforcement start the process of carrying out this investigation, just the beginning stages. Mary Bruce, thank you. I believe that we're going to go back. We just lost the signal to the presser, but just
what else is new? So they lost the presser they lost the signal to the doggone presser. Okay, guys. As you guys can see, there's nothing going on in that whole presser. Okay. There was no Secret Service. Secret Service should have been there to give us a little bit of insight on what actually happened and why this happened, right? How this even possibly happened. Now, hold on. Let me just check something.
This investigation. Let's go ahead and listen back in to that presser in progress.
Hold on.
In the Secret Service.
We got some updates.
In their defense, I mean, what I would want to say is it is incredibly difficult to have a venue open to the public and to secure that against any possible threat, against a very determined attacker. That's a huge lift to try and do it. And, again, the investigation will really give us an opportunity to take a look at where any failures occurred and what can be done better in the future.
Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, do you know when another briefing might be held?
We don't have one scheduled, but I would tell you we will let you know and give you plenty of notice. Certainly, as soon as additional things develop that would be noteworthy or of interest to you, we'll get that scheduled and have another with you.
Locally, what can residents do?
Locally, what can residents do? Do nothing. Apparently they got the guy. Now, I do have a little bit of an update I want to give you guys here. There's some updates revolving around this. Now, there was other things. There were things being said about another name that was being said a lot being the actual assailant, and it's wrong. Okay. We now know that the assailant, okay, this is now being out here. We're going to look at an article here in just a little bit, but the assailant, the actual person behind the trigger is actually, his name is actually Thomas Matthew Crooks. Now, there's been another name that's been floating around like crazy, guys. People have been talking like crazy about another dude. People are saying this other dude's name and pulling up videos of him, and it looks nothing like this guy. Okay? This is Thomas Matthew Crooks, not the other guy. I think his name is like Mark something. I forgot. It doesn't matter because that's not who's being identified as the actual assailant. His name has now been out here by the press. The press, at least New York Post, has leaked the name Thomas Matthew Crooks. He is 20 years old. Okay? So let's take a look at this article here really quick. Like I just showed you guys, this is his face. A side of his face, at least. Okay? Love to see the rest of his face, to be really honest. Now, I had a theory The reason why I had the theory on like maybe they're not willing to put the name out was one, they don't want to incite anything. Maybe they're trying to notify family. I don't know if they do that, like trying to respect the assailant, the monster who just caused all this anarchy. I don't know, right? But I am kind of curious about that. But then the other part of it was that I kept thinking that maybe his face is blown off. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds a little bit, but I keep thinking that maybe they it was a headshot and they want to make sure they really got the guy. So they want to make sure things are confirmed. And of course, they want to find out more information. The other part I was thinking too is maybe the reason why they don't want to put the name out here is because if there are other people that are involved that could possibly be connected to this plan, what if he didn't work alone? Maybe if there were more people involved, they don't want people running for the hills, right? And trying to cover things up. Maybe that's what it was too. I don't know. I'm just asking the questions really, really quick. This presser so far is a big nothing burger, in my personal opinion, but I understand the necessity of being transparent, getting out there, getting on the microphone and letting people know, okay, everyone can calm down now. The monster is down. There is no threats. There is no lingering threats out there to be worried about. There are no monsters running around. You don't have to worry about all those things. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is the reason why they did this presser, just to calm the people down a little bit, because there has been a lot of concern on what the heck actually happened here and why did this happen and all that stuff, right? And did he work alone? Allegedly, they claim that this assailant pulled the trigger 8 times. 8 times, guys. This is what they're saying. One person, this 20-year-old, allegedly Thomas Matthew Crooks, pulled the trigger 8 times. Okay? Which obviously now we're understanding that 2 victims are critically injured, and we have 1 person that lost their life. So there's 3 people in general that were physically injured by this man, this young monster, climbing a building, getting on top of a roof, and taking aim at former President Trump. Okay? So let's take a look at this, okay? Again, he has been ID'd as the person who pulled the trigger on Trump at the rally, and of course, taking the life of 1 and injuring 2 so far, or at least that's what we know right now. All right. The gunman who attempted to take the life of former President Donald Trump Saturday was identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, sources told the Post. Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, squeezed off shots, one of which grazed Trump's ear at an outdoor rally in Butler. All right, just before or just outside of Pittsburgh. Sources said Crooks was planted on a roof of a manufacturing plant more than 130 yards away from the stage at the Butler Farm Show grounds. There he is. He was wearing shorts. In the video that I saw, it looked like he was like in full, like just kind of like mute colored pants and a shirt, but he was wearing shorts, y'all, which is really, really wild. Okay. So they say he was unalived by the Secret Service snipers. An AR style rifle was later discovered. All right. Bethel Park is a village 40 miles south of where the Butler rally was held. Why Crooks fired on the presumptive Republican presidential nominee is unclear. It is still an ongoing investigation. They are still doing their due diligence, I'm sure, and still trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. Why he did this. What was the motive? What was the reason why he did what he allegedly did here? It is really, really crazy nonetheless, okay? But they are saying that this is the man. But this is interesting, though. We just listened to that press conference, which I thought was not so great, very lackluster, but I get the just being out here and showing transparency. But it's just interesting, like the fact that we have this information this quickly. If we already have it out, they might as well just say it and call it a doggone day. Okay? They might as well just say it and make it and just call it a damn day. That's just my personal opinion. But from what we're understanding right now, this is the man that climbed that building, got on top of that roof, and took aim at the former president, which is wild. Absolutely wild. And I'm wondering, like I said, I mean, what was his agenda? What was going on here? I don't know. I know some people are like, that's the thing. The other person that they were putting out here, they were like, oh, he's Antifa. I don't know about all that Antifa stuff. Okay. I really don't. Like, I just see transparency and merit. Thank you so much for the super chat. Is Antifa just an idea? Many leftists believe in political violence. Well, there's a lot of people on the right that believe in violence too. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we get the same things that you could say on one side, you could say it on the other. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's many holes and many problems in every spectrum of this political realm that we live in. Okay, let's just keep it a buck. Okay, but there was a lot of theory about Antifa and all that crap. Like I said, I don't know about all that. All I know is that this kid climbed this building, got up there, and took aim. And what I want to know, okay, because it's beyond just political. It's beyond that. Okay, now it's a matter of finding out why this happened. Why was it allowed to happen? What preventative measures were ignored that allowed this to happen? Because no matter what side of the political spectrum you live on, something like this could have happened to someone on the left or someone on the right. It doesn't matter. And that's the terrifying part of it, period. That should be the wake-up call for all of us. That there was an eyewitness that saw this young man climbing the building, getting on top. They warned police, and police didn't do anything about it. That's a big, big problem. Especially when you have somebody who is, running for president, and they just allowed this to happen. That's a huge problem. These preventative measures were not exacted at all, and that is a huge problem. And like I said, it should worry Biden, and it should definitely worry Trump even more, because he just got lucky, guys. He got very, very lucky. He got out of there by the skin of his teeth, literally. A few inches over, and it would have been a wrap. Just saying that. Caesar, thank you so much. Thanks for the coverage, amigo. Hey, cabron. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support, okay? But like I said, this is some scary stuff, period, okay? And again, one more thing. What was next to him? What was he playing with? What was he shooting out of? An AR-15. Boom. It's always the star of the show, ain't it though? Let's take a look at let's see what else is going on in this live feed here real quick.
Don't know yet motive, but we do know probably that there was some sort of crisis in their life. They're disaffected. They probably spent tremendous time online. We know most people who carry out attacks now plan for them online. They watch videos, they get their tactics, and they get their inspiration from the online environment. So one of the things, this person is a lone attacker, it appears, but they're not a lone wolf. They have been participating in a milieu of violent rhetoric and violent inspiration probably for quite some time. At least that's the profile of most people wwho carry out attacks.
And that's a really great point. And again, we are learning more and more as the minutes and the hours go by, already into the evening. And the next 24 to 48 hours is likely to be very illuminating with more information. Elizabeth Newman, thank you so much. We cannot forget in all of this the people who are there, the witnesses and the victims. Authorities again confirming that one person was killed, 2 critically wounded, all adult males. We heard from so many witnesses who saw all of this. Some of them rushed in to try to help. We've been speaking with some who were at the Trump rally, describing what they saw and heard. A warning, some of it is disturbing. Let's listen.
I was positioned probably about maybe 20 feet away from the president at the point in time when he was making his address. I was to the right of the stage due to me being I was a speaker at the event. So I did my speech earlier today during the pre-program, and I was a few feet from where this all occurred. We heard the shots, and I thought it was, first thought it was fireworks because, you know, people are on edge, and any kind of loud boom you hear, you're going to think gunshots immediately, especially because of the environment of what was going on. And I turned around, and someone yelled medic, and I looked, and there was no way a medic could have got to that person in time. So I left my seat, took my tie off, I jumped over the barrier, and I ran to the individual. But when I got there, it was too late. The person was bleeding out through their head. And like I said, once again, respects to the family because this is a very tough time. But they were shot, and I tried to, you know, block the wound. I tried to I held a towel against it, and until a medical team arrived and got him out. And, you know, from there, I helped the police and crowd control with getting people out of there because people were very nervous, people were very hesitant, and we had to move people fast and get them into a safe location opposite of where the shooter was at or said to be at. So I assisted with getting people down and getting people out. And I try to keep calm and just get people clear.
Wow, Rico. Obviously, we want to be sensitive to the victim's family. But can you tell us more about this person, where they were? Was it a man? Was it a woman?
Well, it was a male. It was a male victim. He was literally just sitting there in the stands. He had to be maybe 3 or 4 rows up from the bottom of the bleachers where everybody was sitting. And 1 second, everyone's cheering and happy and listening to what Trump's saying, and the next minute, he's gone.
Rico, did you have any training in this sort of like first aid? I mean, this is life-saving aid that you're describing here.
I mean, I'm in the military. I'm in the 171st Air Refueling Wing, and you know we learn first aid and self-aid buddy care and basic training. And you know, at the point, as soon as I heard the shots and I seen and heard someone yell medic, my first instinct was, you know, I'm trained in self-aid. I'm trained in you know applying a tourniquet, but I'm not trained to see someone's, you know, what I witnessed.
I mean, nobody can be trained for that. And we're getting the sense, Rico, not just from you, but from others, I think there's going to be some serious time, some healing that's going to need to take place for the people who were there and saw all of this, and especially for you to see everything up close. And you got the sense early on that that this person was lost?
From understanding head wounds and how they operate, when I seen what I seen, I was afraid that person was lost. And reading what has been done, said, and stated in the news so far, those are now facts. which is a shame.
Enrico, I don't even know if these are the right words to ask this question because most people have never been in this situation, but how are you processing what you saw and what you witnessed?
I mean, one can only process what happened, hopefully as slow as possible. But my worry, my heart at this point in time is not for myself, but it's for the families of the loved one.
We just saw him, Trump duck behind the podium, and then a Secret Service pile on top of him. And we heard the shots.
More like what we heard, the bullets rattling around the grandstand. One hit the speaker tower, and then chaos broke. We hit the ground, and the police converged to the grandstands.
I watched him kind of graze his ear, and then I heard a pop, and then he went down, and then I heard another pop, and then a Secret Service kind of came up to the stage. I mean, it was just a chaotic scene.
I could see his face. He was right there talking, having a good time. And, you heard one shot, two shot. It sounded like, bang, nothing crazy. And then you heard maybe three or four more. And that's when everyone got quiet, started panicking. Trump dropped right to the floor. I guess Secret Service jumped on top of him and shielded him. But, as soon as everyone in the crowd figured out what was going on, we all ducked, and my buddies just jumped on top of me, piled on top of me. And we had no idea what was going on. You're in total shock. You're shook, and, you can't feel your legs, but we were trying to decide if we wanted to get up and run, and we had really no idea what to do. And next thing you know, you see bullets, or you hear bullets flying, and I believe a bullet hit the hydraulic lift that was holding up the speakers, and that thing almost collapsed. There was hydraulic fluid and water spitting everywhere all over the crowd. And then before you know it, everyone just gets up and starts running. But
And
Trump
Stephen,
did
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay, but on that note about everybody getting up and running, we're actually showing video that you shot on your cell phone. And this is the moment with people running out of the venue. Describe what that was like, and when were you actually able to get out?
It was pretty stressful. I'm looking around trying to make sure all my buddies who came with me were with me. And, it took probably a good 10 minutes to get out of there, to get out of the whole area. And, before you know it, there's ATVs and UTVs flying and ambulances and all that kind of stuff. And we're trying to figure out how to get out of there and get home. But we made it. And when we walked out to the road, they had, police blocking everything off. And we actually found out where the building was that the shooter was shooting from. They had it all taped off. I guess it was like an agricultural warehouse, something like that. So, it was pretty scary. It's like you're in the movies.
Stephen, forgive me again. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay with the connection, but did you say that you were able to see the building that the shooter was allegedly perched on top of here? You said it was taped off by law enforcement. What did it look like?
It was like kind of like an airplane hangar, maybe, like a warehouse for agricultural equipment, I guess. ARC, AGC, something like that on the side. But once we were out, maybe 30, 40 minutes after, they were taping it off, investigating it. They had the dogs going and all that stuff. But there was traffic jams everywhere. It was kind of hard to.
How far away was that area from where the former president was standing?
Maybe 300, 400 yards, maybe less, honestly.
And Stephen, when you hear that people who were there in the crowd with you, other bystanders, at least one, maybe more, were killed, how does that make you feel?
Honestly, still kind of numb to it. It's hard to process all this. Your heart rate is through the roof, but best wishes for their family, and they were supporting the country that they love. And in the meantime, it's definitely sad, and it's heartbreaking, honestly.
And Stephen, we've been hearing from people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans, Democrats, independent candidate, RFK Jr., and all with the same sentiment, condemning political violence, saying there's no place in this country for something like this. And I just wonder, from your perspective too, you're out there, you're exercising your right to support a candidate. What message do you have for people out there? Because the country is at this political boiling point. There's so much division and anger and hatred right now from one side and the other. What would you like to tell people?
At the end of the day, whether you're on the left, the right, the center, or you don't believe in politics at all, we all still put our pants on in the morning. We all breathe the air and go to work, and a lot of these issues, in 10 years, no one even thinks about them or cares about them. So we're all people at the end of the day, and, it's not worth taking someone's life over political beliefs or whatever. It's just senseless.
Senseless indeed. All people at the end of the day, all Americans at the end of the day, trying to get through tragedy. Let's get back to Mary Bruce at the White House, our chief White House correspondent. President Biden has arrived.
Yeah, just moments ago with the president now back at the White House, of course, cutting short what was his plan to spend the weekend at his beach house at Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Instead, he is now back monitoring all of this as it is unfolding. He has been continuously being briefed and updated on all of these developments and will continue to be so tomorrow morning. As we've been saying, he'll be briefed by his Homeland Security team, law enforcement officials. The president, we know, has spoken to Donald Trump, though we don't know much about what that conversation entailed. Of course, the president, earlier in the day said that he was sending his prayers to the president and to the other victims of this horrific attack. The president was shouted at by reporters asking for how that conversation went. He did not want to engage the press, instead just, ignoring them and walking up the stairs to Air Force One and back down. All of this has completely changed everything, about this race and this political moment. And the president, before you get to any of the politics, is simply going to have, a lot of the same questions that all of us have. And I do think it is interesting to remember that the president's events, the president's campaign events, they have a very similar security procedure, security process. So, there are a lot of questions that the president is going to have, as the president, as a candidate about, how this could have happened and what lessons can be learned going forward. So first and foremost, he is reacting to this as the president, trying to get some of those answers here in the coming hours. Whit.
Yeah, as you noted earlier, president first, candidate second, and everything is being recalibrated now. This is a pool video right now that we're also getting. This was President Biden, his motorcade pulling up to the White House. Remember, he was in Delaware earlier. He cut his weekend trip short to come back to help handle this crisis and respond to it. So the president flew from Delaware, he flew into Andrews and then picked up the motorcade. And then we saw the Beast and the other vehicles then taking him to the White House. And that is the video of the president's arrival. We also know, Mary Bruce, thank you. I want to go to New Jersey because we also have video of former President Trump who flew into Newark earlier today. Then his motorcade picked him up there and took him to Bedminster. And joining us now on the phone is our executive investigative reporter John Santucci, who's been following along. And John, we're getting more response now from Trump's family and the Trump campaign and a video that they're sending out.
Yeah, this is a video that one of the aides that was traveling with Donald Trump back from New Jersey just posted. I know our control room is working to turn that around very quickly, so we'll bring it to our viewers as soon as we can. But again, I think this is all just remarkable. As we've been reporting for the last several hours, as you've been leading our coverage with, the Trump team has really been learning everything in real time. I can tell you that I have been speaking to members.
John, forgive me, I'm interrupting you just for a moment here because I just want to make clear to our viewers what they're seeing right now. This is video, the first video that we have seen of former President Donald Trump since the shooting earlier today. This was released by a campaign official. This is him stepping off of the plane that he flew into Newark, New Jersey. Remember, Trump was swept off the stage by the Secret Service. He waves to the camera there. He was taken to the emergency vehicles, taken off to a hospital for treatment, and was told that he suffered a graze wound to his right ear. And these are the very first images that we're seeing of the former president walking down the steps off that plane since the shooting, the assassination attempt. John, sorry again to interrupt. I just wanted to point out what the viewers were seeing. But again, you have been in touch with the Trump family throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, and with that image, I can tell you something that, at the end of the day, look, Donald Trump, we all know, right, is larger than life, if you will, but for his children, he is dad. And, I can tell you that none of the children were with him today in Pennsylvania. They were all scrambling to reach their father, to get an update. They were actively in touch with Secret Service. I spoke to his two eldest sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. They both were able to reach their father. Donald Trump Jr. telling me that when they spoke, his father was in good spirits, commented about how much blood was coming down his face moments after that happened. But again, as both boys observed to me with, their father is resilient. And I think to see Donald Trump, as we're showing our viewers on screen right now, to think hours earlier, that image that we have played over and over again of Donald Trump, with agents swarming him and pulling him into that motorcade. I can tell you, for many aides and sources of mine that I have built in 10 years of covering Donald Trump for ABC News, many were horrified. Several of whom I've known for quite some time answered the phone when I was trying to find out what was going on, in tears, crying themselves because of how special a relationship they had with Donald Trump. These people have worked for him for a decade, some even longer than that, sources of mine within the Trump organization, the president's company, trying to learn what was happening in real time. Now, look, as far as what we know for tonight, our expectation, you mentioned to our viewers, is that Donald Trump right now is in that motorcade, leaving Newark, heading back to his club in Bedminster, New Jersey. We're expecting to spend the evening. Tomorrow is supposed to be, or was supposed to be, I think that's a more appropriate word, a quiet day ahead of the Republican National Convention. But you got to imagine with Donald Trump, he is going to want to get out there and say something to his supporters, given these images of him walking off his plane for the first time anybody's seen him since he was escorted very quickly out of that rally in Pennsylvania. The other thing that we should note for our viewers is that, this has been a very busy time for Donald Trump, where he has really been focused on the campaign. We reported, as you know, in just the last 24 hours, he was doing private meetings with the three finalists, if you will, potentially be his running mate. And he thought that this rally today in Pennsylvania was going to be that big event. That ended up not being the event because of the coverage. Obviously, we've been talking about something nobody could have predicted. But our understanding is that Donald Trump is still full steam ahead with the convention, expected to head to Milwaukee on Monday. And we still believe that is then and there we'll find out who his running mate is. It is, though, I have to tell you, just as an observer, someone who's covered him for this time, I'm surprised that, the fact that they are moving so aggressively ahead with the campaign, but then again, not. We know that Donald Trump has had so many twists and turns over the last year, and so often they collide with the campaign, and Donald Trump finds a way, if you will, to make it all work. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen now.
Absolutely, John. And you're seeing this remarkable split screen right here. John, thank you again. On the left side of your screen, that is that image that we discussed, the first images that we've seen of the former president after the shooting, stepping off the plane and then heading to Bedminster, New Jersey. On the right, those are the earlier images of the motorcade after he flew into Newark, then escorting him to Bedminster. And joining us now, I believe on the phone, is Rachel Bate, our political contributor. Rachel, we've had many conversations in recent weeks about the state of the campaign. And once again, another unprecedented moment in this campaign, an attempted assassination of a former president. What are you learning from your sources tonight?
Yeah, hey there, Whit. I mean, we can certainly say right now that this is going to further scramble a presidential campaign that is already roiling in chaos, as you just said. I mean, it is very much electrifying Republicans who are already rallying around Donald Trump, and from Democrats who already have heartburn about this campaign, they're even more worried about dimming prospects of taking back the White House. I mean, my colleagues and I were hearing just hours after this assassination attempt from Republicans who are saying, look, we think this is going to solidify Trump's chance of winning back the White House. One congressman here in Wisconsin, where I am right now, Derek Van Oren, said that President Trump survives this attack. He just won the election. We also heard from other Republicans who were talking about that sort of iconic picture of Trump pumping his fist in the air, showing that he sort of survived this, saying this is going to be an image that Republicans are going to rally around. And I think, we're also starting to see some conspiracy theories, unfounded conspiracy theories circulate on the Republican side of things, particularly from some more Trump-aligned MAGA wing officials. I mean, there was a Congressman, Mike Collins, who's tweeting things that Joe Biden sent the orders. To be clear, there has been no evidence of that. And in fact, a lot of people would say this is very dangerous to say this sort of thing right now. But these are the kinds of comments we're actually hearing from Republicans right now. And it's particularly interesting because you have a lot of folks out there saying this should be a moment to take stock in where we are as a country and how heated the political rhetoric has gotten, and that this should be a chance to sort of take down the temperature of that conversation. I mean, independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was on television today saying, President Biden should invite Trump to jointly address the nation and make a commitment to bringing down the temperatures. Instead, what we're seeing is potentially some Republicans actually leaning into this to rev things up even more.
It will be something to watch play out in the coming days, and a major moment of reflection for this country and who we are as Americans, and what this political campaign, this presidential campaign, is going to do and mean going forward. And on that note, let's bring back Mark Updegrove, our president.
So real quick, and I want to jump in here and say a few things, because just listening to them speaking and all that, and there's a few super chats here I want to put in here too, because even Trucking Sasquatch is echoing the same thing that we just heard. People are already pointing out, or at least tweeting and putting out comments and making statements saying, Trump, he just won this election hands down because of what just happened, right? What happened and how he took it, right? So I know a lot of people are looking at that and going, man, that was so badass, but nonetheless, it's very interesting nonetheless, right? Trucker Sasquatch said, Trump is going to go up in polls. Whoever is after him just messed up big time. Indeed. I mean, like I said, before, I was like, will this give him a lot more street cred? A whole lot more street cred. Now, not only is he, now he's a convicted felon. I know that you guys don't like, a lot of Trump supporters don't like hearing that, but he is a convicted felon, right? And he's been shot at. Like, now he just needs to drop a mixtape and he's done. He's going to have so much street cred. This is ridiculous, right? Now he's got the wound. Now he's got the bullet wound to prove that, this is insane, right? It's insane. But nonetheless, it should not be the reason why he should win. He should win because we believe in his policies and how he is going to run the country. That's the reason why anyone should vote for Trump, or any person that goes and is trying for the presidential office, period, right? But it's very interesting, right, that he's got all this going on. And man, he, like this super chat says, and like they're saying already in Twitter, they're like, he won this. He won this election hands down, right? But to me, I go, it should not have been at the cost of other people's lives. It should not be at the cost of him potentially almost losing his life as well. It should not be that way, right? He should get it for his candor, his merit, what he stands for, what he believes in, what he's pushing for the country, his policies, etc., right? Not because, a bullet grazed him. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if his his numbers go up a few hundred ticks. Let's just be real. All right. Southern Ish, prayers for all who were there. Absolutely. Because it could have gone so bad and it didn't. Thank God it didn't go worse than it was. And it's so sad that anyone, including Trump, received injuries, and that we lost someone. And we still don't know about the other two right now. That's so terrible, right? The screams were haunting. We all need to unite. This is us. Sad day for this country, or this is U.S., or this is United States, or this is us. Yes, I do think that, yes, this is a sad day, without a shadow of a doubt, because we need to start figuring out ways to start getting along, to understand that we may not agree with everything, but we can agree to disagree respectfully and move on with our lives, right? All this does not have to, not everything has to be so doggone polarizing. And I say that all the time. Shoot, and I've said it in the last show, but it always, everything becomes so polarizing. And it's like, oh, you like Pepsi, but I like Coca-Cola. I don't like you no more. It's like, damn. We can't just like different things and just be cool. Damn. Everybody needs to chill. Clearly, this is showing that the climate here, the country's climate, is extremely volatile. All right. There's a nerve. It's a very sensitive nerve. It's an exposed nerve that we just keep pressing over and over and over again. We really need to find ways to agree to disagree, find peace and love within each other. Period. Now, Tony W., thank you so much for the super chat. You see the pictures with his. Yeah, I did see the 50 Cent. Yeah, I saw the 50 Cent video. Yeah, that's already coming out. People are already coming out with their own videos, memes, and all that. Here come the memes. There's going to be a waterfall of memes coming out. With Trump walking out with some hard, hardcore rap song or something like that. You just get ready for it. It's all coming. Okay, it's all coming. All right, but still, no matter what. All right. All jokes aside, someone lost their life. Then there was a monster that did this. And by the way, there's footage, and I wouldn't recommend looking at that footage, okay, of the actual assailant gone, because it's out there. It's on Twitter, and I wasn't ready for it. I will say that. I wasn't ready for it, and it shook me. I was like, whoa, that is graphic. But this is that man. That is the assailant. Thomas Matthew Crooks is the assailant. Let me show you. This is interesting too, because they have, people are just like sleuthy as hell. They're able to find stuff so fast. But this is allegedly him when he was graduating a couple years back. Let me blow this up for you guys. This is allegedly him. In fact, we have the video of him graduating. Hold on. Here's a clip of him graduating. Here he comes. And that's all he wrote. But this is the assailant. Now it's a matter of trying to figure out why he did what he did. Why did this kid, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, why did he do what he did? And did he do it alone? And I'm hoping that law enforcement's going through his online, his phone, his digital fingerprint, because I'm sure he has one, and I'm sure it is a lengthy one. I'm sure he's been online talking in forums and stuff like that. Maybe there was foreshadowing. Maybe he gave out a warning. Maybe he said something like, hey, I am going to do this thing, on this day. Maybe he did say that. I don't know. Maybe he felt that, I don't know. Maybe because of the debate that just recently happened and Biden was looking pretty bad. Let's keep it a buck, okay? I mean, it was an embarrassment for the whole thing, but other than that, it was really bad for Biden. So maybe he felt like he needed to take matters into his own hands. I don't know, right? Anything's possible. But this young man here, who is also this young man right here that I showed you earlier, decided to climb a manufacturing building outside the perimeter of the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, took this AR-15 and pulled the trigger 8 times. And now this assailant is no longer here. Very interesting stuff, guys. Very interesting stuff indeed. Now, we saw the press conference. And of course, I say, what say you? What are your thoughts on that press conference? To me, it felt a little lackluster. But I do understand that they don't have everything yet. This whole thing just happened. It's kind of a kerfuffle right now. It's a complete cluster F over there, I'm sure. And they're trying to piece everything together as much as they can. I don't know if they're trying to withhold information, especially about this particular assailant or not. I don't know. All I know is that this young man did what he did. Why he did it, we got to find out why here very soon. And I'm hoping that law enforcement gets in front of this before people go off on their crazy conspiracy theories, wearing their tinfoil hats and coming up with stuff that has nothing to do with why this kid did what he did. And I think that's really important. If they sit on this, that's the thing I get scared of. You know, idle minds, okay? It's not just idle hands, it's idle minds are the devil's plaything. And when we sit here and we're that immersed passionately in a particular case, in a particular situation that happens, a lot of times people, when they don't get the information that they want, they come up with stuff and they make stuff up. And then those rumors suddenly become as if they were true. So one thing I'm very concerned about is, one, did he write something? Did he leave something behind? Did he say, did he have a manifesto? Did he leave something behind on reasons why he did what he did? Hopefully we'll find that out soon, before the rumors start coming out and the conspiracy theories start running amok. So hopefully we'll hear something very, very soon, guys. I'm sure we're going to hear something more tomorrow, okay? I'm sure there's going to be another press conference at some point tomorrow, right? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I was going to say, tinfoil hat's already on so far. I mean, the incident happened, and there are people out here that are saying this was all staged and this was fake. There's a monster, an assailant that's gone, a person a victim that's lost their life, and 2 people that are fighting for their lives in a hospital right now due to this situation that people are saying is staged and fake. All I can say is, nah, until I hear different. All evidence leans on the side of this is real, and that we cannot sit here and just play around with the fact that someone lost their life and 2 are fighting for their lives right now in the hospital right now. So 2 are critically injured. There's no joke about that. There's nothing fake about that. So we need to keep that in mind. Sumud? Hopefully I'm saying that right. We live in a F-ist O. I don't know. And have more G than people. So LOL. in my honest opinion. Jill Stein. Okay, thank you. Mandy, keyword is he's a kid. Absolutely. He is a kid. He is most definitely a kid. Kid monster. Real talk. He's a kid monster. We can all agree on that. All right. But nonetheless, we need to start figuring out some other ways of talking about politics. I don't know what that first super chat was all about. I don't know what that was. But anyway, I think it's important that we all start to figure out ways in which we can communicate on a better level, because it's always been volatile for years, you know? And now we're getting back into the election season. It's going to get volatile again. And I think that we need to find ways to be better with each other. Okay? We really do. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Real talk. Please be sure to hit that like button down below, okay? Hit it, crush it, do what you need to do. Love to see it go past 1,000 likes before we head out, okay? We're almost there. So hit 1,000, get it to 1K on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, crush it, get it to 1K, all right? And if you are watching on Twitter, Facebook, or any of the other places that I'm streaming live at, please hit that reaction button, hit that like button down below. Y'all that are watching on Twitter, I see y'all. I see all y'all. Hit that like button down below real quick. Just hit it. You know what I'm saying? That would be greatly appreciated, all right? I see over 257 y'all watching over there. Just hit the reaction button down below on X/Twitter. Do it, all right? And then, of course, let's not forget, all right? Hit that follow button on all my platforms, Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Please hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Go to my secondary channel. I just uploaded a video, and I got another one uploading before we all rest our weary little heads here in just a little bit. So please be sure to subscribe to my secondary channel. Go check out the video I just posted. Okay, please and thank you. Hit that join button. Become a member of the family. Become a member of the family. Thank you. And check out my Patreon. It's down below right here. Patreon.com/The Pascal Show. And all I ask for you guys to do is do this. Do something positive today or tonight. Some of y'all are just going to positively pass the F out like me. All right. But I ask for you guys to just please go do something relaxing. Watch a show that makes you laugh. Do something that you enjoy. Whatever it may be, just as long as it's constructive and not damaging to you and your health. Okay, guys? We just need to kind of relax a little bit. It's been a stressful day, stressful after evening and night. And then we will, I'm sure, find out more information. The other question I have too is Trump going to make a statement tomorrow? Is he going to come out and speak, make a public announcement? Do a presser of some sort? Or is he going to wait till Monday when he starts doing his campaigning and the Republican National Convention happens? We'll see. He might wait for that crowd reaction when he does emerge. He might do that. But anyway, we'll see what happens, guys. We will see what happens. Hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button. Go subscribe to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Again, The Pascal Show Clips. Please subscribe. Go check out the video I just posted. And I will see you guys very, very soon, okay? Much love to you guys. Stay up, guys. All right? Stay positive. We're going to get through this together. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yes, as long as nothing's going on tomorrow, as far as updates in this particular case, we will be covering Madeline Soto. We're going to be deep diving into that and all the paperwork as well. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. Okay? Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. See you guys soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.